next thing that we want to do is look into our calendars. Make sure that we have our connections set up. We don't need to connect Stripe unless you plan to take payments, which in this case, we might end up taking like a deposit for an appointment, like a non-refundable deposit, something like that. Availability, that's coming soon. We're currently working on that. Preferences, do you want your week to start on Sunday? Do you want English? What's your time format? And your view options. When does your week start? All right, so first order of business, we are going to, next we need to create a calendar. This calendar in particular, we're going to assign to a particular person when the appointment is booked. So we're going to go to calendar settings. We're going to create a calendar. We're going to use a round robin. And that just means that it's going to book with one of our techs, but it can be a different tech every time. Okay. So simple calendar means that there is nobody assigned to it. Okay, it's just going to schedule it on the calendar, but it's not going to block anybody out. Round robin, it's going to block that one person out for that one meeting that it assigned to that one person. Class booking means that it is one person on your team meeting with several people. So that's really good for like a webinar or anything like that. Collective means it can be more than one team member and more than one attendee. So we're going to do round robin because we just need one tech for one appointment. And this is going to be work order calendar. We're going to add a description because again, this is for our schedulers. We are creating a work order calendar that our schedulers will use to schedule a tech for a client who has turned in a work order form that has been approved by the property manager. Please write a description of this calendar for our schedulers that will be helpful for them to know its use. Okay, now on the calendars, it's nice to keep in mind that typically only the top 3 sentences are going to be what shows when somebody's booking. The other thing to keep in mind is that anything you write in the description will be shown if it's a calendar that you're publishing on a website. So for instance, on our Dallowry website, when you come to our calendars that are published for scheduling, anything that you write here, that's the description. So the first 2 sentences are typically fully seen, and then you're going to have to click more if there's even more. But make sure that you're not putting internal communication here if it is going to be a client-facing calendar, okay? You just want to make sure that it is respectful and all that. So if it is going to be a client-facing calendar, you just want to make sure you're using client-facing communication style. If it's internal-facing, then you want to make sure that it is more instructional. That's at least our advice for you. So here is a description. Let's copy and paste that over. Welcome to the work order scheduling calendar, an essential tool designed to streamline the processes. We don't really need that. As a scheduler, you play a crucial role in ensuring that each client's maintenance needs are promptly met, and this calendar is here to assist you achieve that. So the team members, we have the one Ben Gardner, the other one is technically a false account. So if you do have 2 separate logins for the same person, just make sure you name one appropriately so you can tell the difference. And this is going to be the slug at the end, work orders. Meeting duration, we only schedule at least 90 minutes at a time. It doesn't mean that it takes us a full 90 minutes, but we do want that buffer. Again, we can leave this Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And here's why. We've already told the system that Ben is not available on Mondays and Fridays. And we've already told the system that Ben is only available from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. But that doesn't mean that our other techs share the same calendar as him. So we want the calendar to show the actual full availability. And then the calendar will check with the techs that are available and see who is open and who is available for scheduling. So you don't have to worry about any of that. Now, I want you to go and hit advanced settings, and let's look at some of those additional features. I highly recommend that you have a calendar logo. This one does not. So you notice there's no logo in the top. There's no logo anywhere on there. It's just good branding to have your logo in a lot of different places. So you can do a square. So let's just do the Benson square. I recommend a white background. It does look weird if you have a PNG with no background. This group, we don't have any groups yet. So we'll do that in just a second. Work orders, here's why we do the advanced settings. This is the title of the meeting. So it's going to say the contact name, and then we need it to say also work order, right? Because that is what they're scheduling. If it just says the client name for any type of appointment that we book, our calendar is going to get really confusing really fast. So we're going to do work order. This meeting location, I'm actually going to teach you how to add the client's address into there. So we'll come back and do that. Now you can choose whatever color that you want for work orders. We're going to do green. Availability. Again, this needs to be the full calendar's availability. You can also do custom. So if it's an event that is a specific day of the month and it only happens once a month, you just do custom and you'd put the specific day and time for any events that are upcoming. You can schedule recurring meetings as well. So meeting intervals, this is when somebody's booking. Here on this right-hand side, you see 11, 11:30, 12, 12:30, 1, 1:30. That's 30-minute intervals. You could do 15-minute interview intervals. It means that if somebody books, like with this calendar, it's going to be 90 minutes. So if somebody books at 11 and I have it set on 30-minute intervals, then the next first available will show at 12:30. Okay. If I show 1 hour intervals, then the next one will show at 1. Okay, so that's just what that means. Minimum scheduling notice for us, it is 4 days. We have to have a 4-day notice before we will accept for even any tech, because we do allow our guys a really flexible schedule. Date range, we don't like to book more than a month out. And that's just because client schedules change. We have a lot more reschedules, no-shows, cancellations, all that stuff. Minimum bookings per day. So sometimes you're going to want this, other times you don't. So like for our software demo, I only like to do 2 to 3 personally per day. And that's because we get burnt out. We answer a lot of the same questions. So we just make more mistakes. We miss features, things like that. You can say, hey, we've got no maximum because we're going to keep hiring tech. So as long as there's a tech available, then go ahead and schedule them. That's really fine. That's what we're going to do here. Maximum bookings per slot, though, this is per user. So in our case, we wouldn't want 2 clients to be able to schedule with 1 tech at the same time. That wouldn't make much sense because he can't be in 2 places at once. So we need 1 maximum slot. Buffer time, this is how much time do you want in between the meetings? So this would be like your travel time. So let's do 20 minutes there. Now this is going to make our available slots shrink, because that means not only is the meeting 90 minutes, but we also just added 20 minutes in between. So every single one of our meetings that is scheduled is going to take up 110 minutes of our calendar's time, basically 2 hours, right? So keep that in mind when you add a buffer. But you want to add your drive time here in the buffer. You do not want to add your drive time in the meeting duration. Okay, you can add your buffer here. This is your drive time. Next is forms and payments. Now we already have a form, but we are not having the client fill out the calendar. Our schedulers are. So the only thing that we need is just the default: first name, last name, email, phone, notes. Okay. If the client was going to fill this out, for instance, on this right-hand side, if I was a client booking this, this is a form that was created because the client is the one booking the appointment. It's client facing. This one is internal, so we just want the default information. Okay. So now we can do sticky contacts. That just means that if you've already filled out a form for that client, it's going to recognize who that is. You have to fill it out less. For us, we're not going to do that, because if the client moves, we don't want it to accidentally add the wrong address, right? Next, consent checkbox. I confirm I want to receive content from this company. We don't need to do that as well, because we've already collected that in the work order form. This is an internal form, so we don't need it. If this was an external form, you would want it because this is where it accepts the terms and conditions. Okay. We don't want them to be able to add guests to this scheduling. Now, once we get into training more techs, that might be an added section that we can do, but really that tech is going to be paired with one particular mentor. And so we don't need to add them as a guest because wherever that mentor goes, that tech goes. Thank you for your appointment request. We need to change the language on this, right? So this is again, internal calendar. We're going to have it auto confirm new calendar meetings as well, because our tech should be giving us their availability. And if they're available, then we want it to go ahead and confirm that appointment. Notifications, we can do an acknowledgement email. We do want it to go to the contact because again, the contact turned in a work form. They didn't book the appointment. So once we have booked the appointment, we need to let the contact know. And then we are going to assign it to a particular user as well. We can allow Google to send an invitation and assign contacts to their respective calendar team members. We are going to do that. So this just says that if it was scheduled to Ben, because he was the available tech, then the contact, Sue, is going to then be assigned to Ben because he's the one with the upcoming appointment with her. Customizations, I recommend you keep it on Neo. This is the Neo calendar. It just looks cleaner, more modern, but you can also switch between allow the staff selection during booking. So if you have a manager who's on the schedule, you want them to get priority, they get all the first meetings if they're available, you can turn that on. Or round robin just means it goes in a system. Whoever's supposed to get the next appointment gets the next appointment based on their availability. Okay. So for now, we're just going to leave that off. We're going to allow it to just go round robin. So fair. We are going to allow for rescheduling, but we are going to allow for canceling, but we are not going to allow for reschedule. We do want the client to call us back. So we're going to save. For us, we need a particular location for each particular day, right? So if we just needed one round robin, we're good. But because we need specific location round robins, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to duplicate this. It copies all of those settings. Sometimes that loads a little weird. And then we're going to put this city name in front. Okay. And then we have to change this slug as well because it's saying, hey, you already have that. You can't make it the same URL. That doesn't work. We're going to do OKC. We're going to do OKC. You can make your ones different colors or you can keep them all the same. We're going to keep ours all the same. We're going to change the availability though. We are not going to go to OKC on Mondays and Tuesdays. So it's just going to be Wednesday, Thursday, and we're just going to do Wednesday and Thursday for now. Everything else is going to stay the same. So for 30-minute notice, 90-minute meeting, 4 hours day notice, 30-day range, 1 booking per slot, 20-minute buffer. Form is going to be the same. Acknowledgement emails are the same. Customizations are the same. So now we have a regular work order calendar, which this one we might just rename it to be urgent because it's going to be every single day that it's available, which would be needed in an emergency situation. And now we don't have to change anything else on that calendar. Now we need an admin one. So again, I'm just going to duplicate it. And I'm going to change this to admin. And we're going to change this to admin. And we're going to change this to admin. We're going to change the availability to Monday and Tuesday. And everything else stays the same. Now you can also create groups of calendars. So I'm going to do that now. We're going to do work order calendars. We do need a description. And again, I know that sometimes it can feel like a lot, but I promise later when you get into more in-depth automations and customizations, you're going to be happy you have all these descriptions, all these unique slugs, all of these titles done properly instead of just rushing through it. Save. So now what we can actually do is we can assign these to specific groups. So we're going to move to a group, work order calendars. You'll want to do this before you actually start booking any appointments inside of that calendar, okay? Because it will change the scheduling link. But I will show you why this is important in the future. So now when I go to groups, this is the link that we can send our schedulers. And now when they're looking at the client, they can look and say, is it urgent or what city are they in? Okay, so that's why it's important. I don't have to send them 17 different calendars. I can now just send them this legacy link, right? And it's going to pull everything. It looks like our logo's not working. So let's find a different logo and we'll update all of these. Let's see if the OKC one's working. Let's go back. OKC. OKC's working. So let's go to remove. Save. You have to save it and then you come down to this bottom tab here because it saves it as you go through the tabs of the calendar. Okay, Guthrie should be updated. Let's check. Nope. Guthrie is still not liking that logo. So let's remove, actually, let's refresh. There it is. Okay, now as far as the location goes, in order to make it what we call a dynamic, means it goes off of the client's information. We are going to stay here in settings. So in our CRM, if we're in our account and we're going back to the beginning, we hit settings, we hit custom fields, and then we're going to just look for street address. So here's contact street address, right? We're going to copy this. And we're going to come back to our calendars. Again, we're still in settings, calendars. We're going to click on the work order, edit. We're going to come down to meeting location and we're going to paste. Okay, that's all you have to do. If our calendar is based on Oklahoma City, then by plugging in the address, the tech will know that the address is located in Edmond. So let's update all these. Save. So sometimes when you're messing with this kind of stuff, it just takes you playing with it and finding what works and what doesn't. And because what works for us might not work for you. Every calendar is just a little bit different. Here's the other thing to consider, that you can do high priority on these events and make them a different color if it's an urgent calendar. So like this one's our urgent work order. And this one, we might actually need a bigger buffer time because we're not optimizing based on location. And so let's also do 100 minutes. Okay. So let's refresh. See how this one's a different color now. All right, and now let's try again. Let's do Guthrie this time. Let's see if that does the trick. Thursday, August 31st. So we're going to go to work order calendars. Guthrie. And there, now it has the address. That is how you can have the client's address automatically added into the calendars as you input them.